All right, Bitcoin. If we think of Bitcoin in a four zone mentality for short term time frames, this is what we got. It's an ascending channel. However, we do this, it's an ascending channel, not necessarily horizontal. But in any moment of time that Bitcoin is in, let's say the orange channel where it is now, I would be mostly neutral but leaning bearish. You can read the rest for yourself. Now, note that when Bitcoin enters the short-term time frame bearish zone, full-on bearish short-term time frame, that is a perfect spot for it to potentially bounce for a higher low at the bottom of the point of control. So it doesn't mean, more shorts, the deeper into this, but this is the short-term time frame, very short-term time frame mentality, because as in my last YouTube video that wasn't live, I noted that the clash between the 8-hour and 12-hour, which are kind of pointing down, but the daily and 2-day are they look like they want to continue going up strong. They just got going and they have a lot more juice. So the 8-hour and 12-hour is one rock, and the daily and 2-day is another rock. They're in total disagreement, and they're going to they're going to fight it out, and it's going to take a while. We're not going to get a resolution of this entire range very soon. It's going to take several days, most likely, for those to be in agreement to start becoming closer to agreement before a larger move, either up or down, will happen. So in the meantime, given that you can't tell what the midterm timeframes are going to be doing at any moment in time, I feel that the most valuable thing to realize is midterm, we don't know. It's roughly 50-50, but short term, this is how I think of price within that context. So let's go ahead and dive in. I might start this stream off with traditional markets, because traditional markets are at a crossroad where either they need to go up to all-time highs or make a local high, which would be an all-time high, or things are going to start really accelerating to the downside, and that's going to have a large consequence on Bitcoin. It's not a 4-hour, 1-hour signal. This would be a macro signal that could be triggering, but it might happen rather soon, within the next couple weeks. So I wanted to note that on a macro sense, since the short-term sense I've already kind of highlighted here. So let's dive into some Bitcoin. I'm going to go to SPX on the 2-day chart. I recently uploaded on a daily update, a daily update video for Discord that goes into what I'm about to say in much greater detail, and to help one determine how do I, consider any fake outs that might happen on this trigger. So any community member, there is a more detailed video that I just uploaded on Discord. But the gist, I don't want to leave YouTube totally behind on this big potential signal, so I'm going to cover it more briefly. More briefly. I'm going to throw on the weekly 10 EMA, and I'm on the 2-day chart on SPX. Okay. All right. And what you see here, blue lines, these are the origin lines. This bright blue, thickest one right here is the master origin line, or it's the middle of everything, right? It's the average. So if I zoom out even more, like to the weekly, it is the middle of the chart, and this is going back to the 40s, 1940s back here, right? So this is 1954 back here. So this is the middle, all right, and that's what we're looking at that point. I'm gonna go back to the 2-day chart. And I'm going to throw on, I have on the weekly 10 EMA. I'm going to throw on the monthly 21 EMA. I have a dog scratching at my door. Poor guy's sick. Monthly 21 EMA. All right. And now we're going to start zooming in. So they're different time frames. The red is the weekly 10. And the yellow is the monthly 21 EMA, and now we're going to kind of compare some stuff, all right? Let me let this dog in real fast. Oh, buddy, that's a lot. Yeah, my poor dog is really sick. barely get him to drink water. He hasn't eaten in a few days, so I feel bad for him. So I will let him interrupt my stream, okay? So deal with it. Deal with it. All right. Anyway, take a look at what happened in Y2K. Actually, you know what? I might use the weekly 21. I'm going to switch this. I'm going to do the weekly 21, and I'm going to make it pink. Yeah, so I'm using 221 EMAs, one of the weekly and one of the monthly. All right, here we go. So Y2K, the weekly 21 crossed right there below the monthly 21. The housing market crash, the pink went below the yellow here. And since then, pink has not gone below yellow. It only bounced. So let me take off price. Pink went below yellow. Pink went below yellow. Pink bounced on 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 yellow. You're seeing the difference here? So when they cross and you end up getting a big move or a move off that, there's going to be so it's at a precipice. It's okay. It's either going to cross and big move, or it's going to bounce and make a local high. Which, because this was the all-time high recently, it's going to make an all-time high. That's what's one of those two is going to happen. The likelihood of it crossing and then making a lower macro high, I think it's very unlikely. Look at this. And if you go back in time, it's pretty much more of the same. Look. It crossed here. You didn't get quite as big as a move. Why? Because price was already below the medium line. See, this is the median line. So this signal, because it's bearish, if it initiates below the middle line of the, let's call this the stock market, it doesn't have as much space to go because it's already below halfway point. It's going to be sucked back up over the years to the median line. But when you get that signal far above this line here, the farther above it, the stronger that move is going to be, right? But even so, even below here, the pink bounced on yellow. 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 And higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high. If it crosses, it's a relatively big move down. It crossed, relatively big move down. Crossed, relatively big move down. Bounce, bounce, bounce. So there are only really two options. And because price is so far above the median line here, the effect of this is going to be pretty big. And so what I'm saying here is that if it plays out, so two conditions would have to happen. And they'll probably happen together, but they would have to happen together. Is this cross plays out and history relatively repeats itself and something new, since the 50s doesn't happen. So the assumption number one, it plays out / nothing new happens. And number two, Bitcoin does not separate from the traditional market. If those two conditions play out, what we have seen so far on Bitcoin's drop will be moderate compared to what's getting ready to happen. In other words, the next drop will be way bigger and badder than what's already happened in crypto. A lot stronger. The next leg down would be a lot stronger and a lot bloodier and a lot more aggressive. If you think if you think bottom's in now, it could be because it's got to pick a direction and it's got to pick it now and it could pick up. So I'm not saying it's definitely going to drop. But if this plays out, you really only have two options, all-time high or a big drop. With the assumption that something new will not happen, given that price is way above here. Now, if this signal were happening down here, because the stock market was below the median line, which is this blue, sure, don't expect that big of a drop. Either could happen, not that big of a signal, right? Not that huge. It's something to look at, but it's not it's not massive. But look how far above. I mean, I think it's like the second highest up that price has ever been from the. Let me take off the EMAs. So from here to there, 83%, 168%. That was Y2K. Yeah, that was 2000. Back in the 60s, 68% as well. What was it now? Is it 68 to the top? Let's see here. No, it's 8. Yeah, it's more. It's 83. So it's the second highest above the median that it's ever been. And therefore, the signal is going to be a big friggin' deal. But it does make an assumption that might not be true. It is possible something entirely new happens. They always got to keep that in mind, but it's not very likely. So that would mean, if that plays out, if I could put some numbers on Bitcoin, it would go straight to 4 digits. Like it'll blow through 14K. Maybe not all in one day. I'm not saying just straight down like the Wyckoff thing when it went 30,000. I don't think that's going to happen. That was a setup, right? That was a coordinated event. I don't think it'll be quite that aggressive. That was insane. That was even a stronger move down than capitulation of late 2018. I watched both happen, and that was actually way stronger, way more aggressive, way faster. I don't expect it to be Wyckoff fast, which would be, I think it started on May 21st. That was complete insanity. But I would say the move on Bitcoin would be faster than what it's been so far. Somewhere between those two areas, and it would probably blow through multiple of my targets where I've been saying they could be a bottom target, 14 and 12K primarily. This is saying that those are not going to be targets. It's insinuating that, mostly because of the distance of this signal from the median line. It's saying it's going to be a big one, a real big one, unless something new happens, which it could be a medium one. Who knows? For the first time ever, that far above. And so keep that in mind. This is not a short signal. We're using we're using a monthly EMA and a weekly multi-EMA. And so you can't just watch this video and start shorting. No, you'll be stopped out / liquidated potentially, So don't interpret any of this as go on to futures and short, Cosa said. No, huge drop. Cosa said, right? I got liquidated. He's go on Twitter, worst person ever. Worst signal. No, I'm not giving you a signal. So if I had to give you a time frame of when this would happen, I would say late this week, as early as late this week to next week would be my guess. Could it happen tomorrow? Sure. Could it happen a little after? Absolutely. Historically, I've looked back, and a lot of my bearish sentiment, I was just a little too early. Keep that in mind, historically. But I think I've gotten a little bit better at what I do, especially as I'm communicating, just in general. And so hopefully I'm bridging that gap, so I'm not too early. I was saying big dump is coming, in late March, which dumps did happen, but then it bounced right back and made all-time highs 4 times. But you did get 20 or 30% moves when I was seeing bearish divergence of going something huge is going to happen, but I was way too early. I think Bitcoin kept bouncing up and made all-time highs a month after I was getting really bearish. So historically, I've shot the gun, or whatever, went before whatever that phrase is. Most Americans know what idiom I'm trying to say. I overstepped I jumped the gun. There you go. I jumped the gun on that, but it doesn't feel like I am here, because this cross, it is so it has about a 14-day window, and it's happening now, and it either goes up or it goes down. It doesn't continue going sideways. It doesn't happen a month later. It has a specific window, so I feel pretty confident with this time frame. But I do want to let you know, I've also felt confident in the past, and I shot the gun. I jumped the gun, and I was being bearish too early, so definitely keep that in mind. Now, let's start looking at some Bitcoin specifically here. Oh yeah, and so before we jump into the questions after I do this Bitcoin analysis, just remember that the YouTube tiers, typically there's a join button right below my average my typical YouTube video, and if you click it, another video will pop up describing what you get, including I look at your questions first on the live chats, and then Twitter. I'm Cosasverdes with the number 2 afterward. Links to the Discord are in the description section of all my videos. All right, Bitcoin in general is the maybe even a 20-second summary of what I said in my previous video. If you missed it, is Bitcoin will likely be a bunch of choppy mess between this line and this line. And true direction, like you actually have a real trend where you can trade on timeframes bigger than 1 hour, won't happen until you get above here or you get below here. And the timing of that to happen will be roughly August 8th, because that's when the top of this, see this channel line? That's when it crosses the horizontal. And that's when this one crosses this horizontal. And it happens on August 8th. So from now till August 8th, I think a lot of this price action is going to be choppy, and any nice move up or whatever, you know, it could just fall flat on its face after a 2% move. I don't think you're going to get moves that are tradable beyond a 1 hour time frame. And 1 hour might even be pushing it. Like, to trade this, you probably need to be on the 3 minute and 5 minute, and only using the 1 hour as reference of oscillators up, like are my Stokes up or my Stokes down, but most of your signals are on the very, very short time frames because it's so choppy. Yeah, and I don't think we're going to get a big move. So that is a summary of yesterday, August 8th. Until then, I'm probably not going to do much any futures trading, because I don't want to get chopped to death, which means you're in a position and you can just get stopped out. Then it goes back to where it was. You try to get a position and it stops you out. Like, there's just no point in doing it, because you're not going to get a big move anyway on time frames larger than an hour and above. All right. What am I looking at on this chart outside of this? So let me get rid of these zones here. These might be, well, I thought I had these in a folder, but maybe not. So I can make them disappear. So what I'm looking at specifically is a mixture, just 2 EMAs. That's it. I'm looking at the weekly 10, maybe, if it pulls up. Did I click the wrong thing? Or is my trading view not working? That's working. Oh, I switched it. Let me do this. Go back to my template. Bam. Yeah, there we are. All right. I was going to say, what the hell is going on? but I switched the gears. All right. So I just refreshed it by pressing my template up here. Okay. So I have the weekly 10 and the daily 10. And as I said at the beginning, the three zones are just between here, neutral, and then leaning bearish, and above this line is leaning bullish. And don't get fully on bullish until you've closed like at least a daily above this, but even then it could be a fake out, or closed a daily below this until you're full bearish or full bullish. Okay, so just a reminder, what I think I discussed at the very beginning. That's what we got here for a 3-zone mentality. Simply throw up your don't throw up your lunch, but throw on the weekly 10 EMA and the daily 10 EMA, and by having that, you have a pretty good sense of direction for short-term time frames, and you have a good sense of where your next support or resistance will be, right? Okay. And until this breaks out, it's just going to be a bunch of back and forth, and these are the only things that I'm looking at until then, and this horizontal line. So I don't expect to really pay attention to much until this line. And then I will probably jump to Ethereum next, but before I get out of here, just realize that I do have a playlist for anybody new that has a video showing you how to set up your chart, and it's a 28-minute TradingView tutorial for anybody new, and go ahead and check that out on my playlist, Learn Trading Basics, and peruse some of those thumbnails there. And we just got Timified Worldwide on Bitcoin, and now we'll move on to Ethereum.